Justin Jones and Justin Pearson, two young Democrats, were expelled by the Tennessee House of Representatives this week. I will just read from the BBC here reporting on this. This just gives what I thought was the most succinct sort of summation of this. Democratic Representatives Justin Jones, Justin Pearson, and Gloria Johnson joined demonstrators gathered at the Tennessee State House on March 30th to demand stricter gun control laws. The three entered the House chamber during the protest and led chants from the lectern, disrupting proceedings. The protest came just days after 6 people, including 3 children, were killed in a school shooting at Covenant School in Nashville. During the protest, Mr. Jones held a sign that said, "Protect kids, not guns," and also led protest chants shouting "No action, no peace" into a megaphone. Dubbed the Tennessee Three, the 3 Democrats represent about 200 constituents in Tennessee.
200,000.
I'm sorry, 200,000, yes.
That's a very small town.
Yes, small town in Tennessee. Mr. Jones and Mr. Johnson were stripped of their committee assignments by the Republican leadership after the disruption. Mr. Pearson did not serve on a committee. Republicans, who hold a supermajority in the state, then filed a resolution to expel the 3 Democrats from their seats in the state legislature for, quote, disorderly behavior. The resolution said the 3 brought disorder and dishonor to the House of Representatives through their individual and collective actions. In the run-up to the vote on Thursday, members of both parties traded barbs as they debated proposed legislation. Last slide here. Mr. Jones, Mr. Johnson, and Mr. Pearson, Miss Johnson and Mr. Pearson entered the chamber together, holding hands, their fists raised just outside. Protests, including young students and their parents, crowded the halls of the State House where they had gathered for days calling for stricter gun laws. "We protect the Tennessee Three," they shouted, referring to the Democrats Justin, and Gloria. And by the end of that day, when they knew this vote was coming, obviously, Mr. Jones and Mr. Pearson, both black and known by many as the Justins, had been expelled by the House Republicans. Miss Johnson, who is white, avoided expulsion by a single vote. All right. So, high-profile Democrats were quick to respond here. Joe Biden hosted the ousted lawmakers on a virtual call. He's going to invite them to Washington in the coming days. Kamala Harris went down to D.C. to give a speech about this, a very impassioned speech. Here she is giving her take.
It wasn't about the 3 of these leaders. It was about who they were representing. It's about whose voices they were channeling. Understand that. And is that not what a democracy allows? A democracy says you don't silence the people. You do not stifle the people. You don't turn off their microphones when they are speaking about the importance of
And by the people, we mean Democrats who are towing a party line Democrat position.
Very
against
specific types of Democrats.
Right, exactly. Specific types of Democrats who parrot talking points about an issue that is ultimately no threat to entrenched power. How dare you take the microphone from them? This is America. If you're on Twitter posting about something that we think today might be wrong, different story. I mean, just incredible how this provokes a response. All of a sudden, they're free speech warriors. Here, let's hear from Barack Obama, a guy who presided over the hostile crackdown on Occupy Wall Street in the middle of the night once they were causing too much inconvenience for Mike Bloomberg's downtown area, and who, of course, prosecuted more whistleblowers than any other president in history. This nation was built on peaceful protests. Well, not exactly.
Not to mention Standing Rock.
And Standing Rock, yeah. And like this nation was built on peaceful protests. Well, not exactly. But anyway, different conversation. No elected official should lose their job simply for raising their voice.
The Native Americans were peacefully protesting, right. And then they killed them.
Yeah. No elected official should lose their job simply for raising their voice. I like how he says no elected official should raise their job simply for raising their voice. I mean, maybe not in this way, but ironically, like if it's appropriate for anyone to lose their job based on what they say, it will be an elected official who's put there by the people who are supposed to judge what they say and what they don't say. Like you should have said, you could say no one
kind of
should lose their job for raising their voice. Like an employee of a company shouldn't lose their job for raising their voice, but of course they do. They do,
right?
Because private companies censor. But according to Barack Obama and according to Kamala Harris, censorship can only happen if the government does it. But no elected official should lose their job for raising their voice, especially when they're doing it on behalf of our children, especially when they are raising their voice and agreeing with Barack Obama, right? Now, look, obviously, I am sympathetic to the points that these guys were making, and obviously they should not have been expelled. But, look, I have to tell you, first of all, the hypocrisy from these Democrat loyalists and Democrat higher-ups is just self-evident. I gave you two examples right there. Russell added a third. Occupy Wall Street, Standing Rock, all of his policies
he also
going after journalists.
Well, he cracked down on more whistleblowers than any president in history.
Yeah.
And, very often that's consistent that you'll look at the records of Republicans and the records of Democrats are often worse in these areas that we take it as a given that the Democrats would be better in. Look, we just had, I haven't gotten to look at the details of it, but it's making a lot of headlines. We had so much news to cover. I didn't get a chance to really look at it, but, this happened under Obama and now it happened under Biden that there are leaks about how we're spying, not just on our enemies, but on our allies. This is under Democrats. George Bush, who we thought of as an existential threat to the press, didn't prosecute nearly as many whistleblowers and journalists, not even a drop in the bucket to Barack Obama. I think Barack Obama, I don't want to swear to that. Maybe you know better. Didn't he go after as many whistleblowers as like previous presidents combined?
I believe so. Yeah.
Right?
I believe so.
I'm right about that, right?
Well, yeah. Greenwald talked about that through the Obama years all the time, about how this is just an unprecedented criminalization of journalism as a profession.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right. So they're going to go out there and talk about freedom of speech. I mean, this kind of relates to our previous segment. They love them some culture war. What if these guys said, let's do a thought experiment. What if these guys had been expelled from the House for protesting for Medicare for all? Would they have gone down there? Would you even hear about it? Would it even be in the media?
Well, look, I was going to make this point myself, but one of our chat members beat us to it. John Small, East Palestine still waiting. Yeah, exactly.
You see them there?
They are petulantly deciding not to go to East Palestine, Ohio, because Trump beat them there. And they figure if they go there, it's going to look political. And so they're just refusing to go. That's what it is. It's basically just this.
Right.
Nope,
right.
we're not going
right.
because because they know they're going to look bad when they go. So they're saying we're not going to go. A couple of Democrats in good standing get ousted. Next day, they're there.
Yeah.
Pick it up. There's a free speech. Yeah. This is not America. It's just unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It's all like what they do.
It's insane.
It's all just a performance of politics, just completely lacking the meaning point and essence of it. This is all just it's a performance.
And look, the other thing that I found interesting about this, because I've thought about this myself, because we've talked about the possibility, and now because of the Roe v. Wade stuff, it's less of a possibility now than it was a year or 2 years ago. But we talked a lot about on this show how it's really not difficult to envision this country being just a one-party state moving forward, because the organic bases of support for Democrats are dwindling because of betrayal after betrayal, to the point where it's not hard to imagine a Republican supermajority. And I thought, what happens if they get those supermajorities? Can they not just expel the Democrats and turn this into an actual one-party state? Right, and you look at a lot of states in the country where they have the opportunity to do that. I'm surprised this hasn't happened more. Tennessee, I forget how long it's been. Pardon me. It's been quite a long time since they've done this. This is a very, very rare thing. But I remember Trump, I think it was during the impeachment hearings or something like that, he referred to Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats as not 50-50 partners. They're not 50-50 partners, which is New York talk.
This Republican brought that up. Yeah.
Right, which is like New York talk for like, we're not in this together. We're not good faith negotiators. We are oppositional forces. And given that attitude has been so prevalent, it's really been the norm since Trump, and even a little bit before Trump, but Trump was when it really ratcheted up on both sides, by the way. I'm surprised this hasn't happened more. I'm surprised, like, where a state has the opportunity to just purge the other party, red or blue. I'm surprised they haven't just taken it. I really am.
Well, one thing this Republican was saying that was bullshit, really. He was basically saying the Democrats started it. That depends on how far down the chain you go.
Right.
Completely vilifying the other party as evil and unpatriotic, I would argue that came in with the Gingrich Republican Revolution in 94. Like, that is when they really threw out, setting aside whether what they were doing in a bipartisan way was good before.
Right.
This whole, Tip O'Neill, Reagan collegiality that Chris Matthews used to love to wax poetic about, that went out with Gingrich. It was the Republicans who drew first blood in terms of just tearing apart that old idea that they had to work together.
Right.
So now, subsequently, Democrats have made their own contribution to that. But who started it? Yeah, it was the Republicans.
Yeah, no, I mean, it certainly was. But now, I think, at this point, now that this conflict is, 25 years in, I mean, I think you could certainly say there is plenty of hatred to go around and to go back and forth. And given that climate, I'm surprised.
It's a race to the bottom.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, absolutely. And given that, I'm just surprised that this has not happened earlier. Like, what's to stop Mississippi from just purging the Democrats?
Sure.
That's it. Like, we have a supermajority. We have the power to do this. We don't want any of you here. So that's it. Maybe they figure they don't have to because they have a supermajority anyway. What's the difference if there are a handful of Democrats that they can kick around? Why bother? Right, exactly. But this seemed to be, I mean, look, it's
like
pretty...
what fun would it be not having any libs around to own?
Yeah, right, exactly. When we going to start owning each other, that's not really fun. Yeah. Exactly.
Please clap.